And now for a bit of fun on Who's Views, JT and the Whotastic panel review Carry On Screaming.
Oh!
Hello everyone, it's us here at Who's Views again with another one of our reviews of the Carry On shows. Nice to see you all, everybody. And yes, of course, we are tonight frying tonight. Yes, and I can't wait for this one. Here's George, here's Paul as well.
Hello there.
And we are here, of course, to talk about our most requested, guys, our most requested Carry On review. It's Carry On Screaming as part of our Wholloween season here on the channel. We couldn't miss that one out, could we?
No, it's an absolute cracker of a movie. Love it.
Oh, yeah, and it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're going to get to tell us all what you think about this evening and show us how much you love this film, because it is a brilliant film. If you're new to this particular film, stand by your beds, because there is something in those bushes, I can assure you. I love that delivery from Angela. It just makes me crack up.
Oh, she's lovely in this. She really is. Yeah.
She is fabulous. At the top of the show now, guys, I just want to say a huge thank you to Blue Worm, our pal Blue Worm, because he sent us a lovely illustration that he's done. Check this out.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's very nice. Lovely, yeah.
I just love it. Isn't that brilliant? It captures the whole spirit of the thing, doesn't it? It really does. So thank you for that, mate. Really appreciate it. Brilliant piece of art. And hope you're all right. Hope you're well. Thanks for your email. But I love that. 10 out of 10 for that one alone, I think. Oh, yes. So here we are then, everybody. We're here with Carry On Screaming. Oh, my goodness. We're going all the way back for this particular one to 1966. And this is film
That's a very
number
good
12.
year, I can tell you that. Yeah.
It's a very good year. Number 12 in the series.
The 16th of August, 1966, to be exact.
Yeah. Very strange time. I would have expected it to come out around about this time, really.
Well, normally what used to happen with films back then, because there were so many cinemas in the UK, was films would open in London and the Southeast first, do 2 or 3 weeks, see how they did with a limited number of prints, and then those prints would travel up north. So it would actually be a good few weeks before the whole country was blanketed in the release. But London and the Southeast saw it on the 16th of August, 1966, first of all.
Well, of course they did.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello to everybody that's joining in the chat. It's nice to see you all. Yeah, Nibbles saying frying tonight. I love that line for many. I love the delivery from Kenneth, of course. I just love the fact that it's just so funny and it's just appropriate. But I actually have vague memories as a lad of the Chippies actually crying that out. And people today
that's what got me watching it again yesterday. How much the stuff they put people in, and he ends up at the end looks like batter. It's brilliant. It really is. It's superb. It is. Yeah.
Well, really is. A little in joke in the film is Kenneth Williams' famous catchphrase of "Oh, stop messing about." Yeah. He doesn't say it, but other cast members do.
And what a cast we've got. There's Blue Worm joining us there again. Thank you very much for your picture, mate. Really appreciate it. But this is slightly different, as we showed at the top. I'm going to show it again here. It's a slightly different cast here, because you haven't got many of the regulars in this film, have you? Actually, you've got Kenneth Williams, of course. You've got Bernard Breslow crops up. You've got Jim Dale. You've got Angela, who goes on to become a regular. Fenella Fielding's making her second and I believe final appearance in all this. You've got what have you got? You've got Harry H. Corbett making his first appearance, and of course you've got the one and only Peter Butterworth in there as well. But it's a completely different cast, really.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, this was Peter Butterworth and Bernard Breslaw's second Carry On film. They joined in the previous one, Cowboy, and there was a marketing campaign when it was first released for Carry On Screaming, which actually promoted it as the new Carry On team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there was such a big personnel change in it.
I read somewhere, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, George. Was Sid James missing from this? He was in pantomime or something. Is that right?
That's right. He was doing. Yeah. He was in a very long run of Babes in the Wood at the West End, which was doing regular matinees as well as evening performances. And because he had to be there for so many matinees, he couldn't do the film.
Yeah, it's really weird, actually. I'm going to come to you all on the chat in a second, but it's really weird that you've mentioned Sid James in this, of course. But I can't actually see him being in this. I can only see Harry H. Corbett playing that Sidney Bung rather than Sid James playing Sidney Bung.
It's funny. In Constable, he plays a similar character, the sergeant in this police station.
Yeah.
So there's a similarity between the two. So maybe he could have done. But I agree, Harry H. is really stamped on it because it's Harry H. But he's playing Steptoe in this, isn't he? Like everything else, you know.
It was. It was originally earmarked for Sid James. And I mean, there's even the musical gag about Steptoe and Son on the soundtrack.
Yes, soundtrack, No wonder he got fed up with it, eh? And he's like, Nibbles is saying this is so iconic. And Randy Batswinger, you're going to get me into trouble, mate. Good evening, mods and oddbods. Well, good evening to you as well. Yokai63 is saying to us, evening, the foul feet smell something horrible bit. It's the funniest scene in all the Carry On films and a top moment in British comedy. And I love it. It is very good. I mean, everything in this is to treasure. It's just one gag after, and it keeps on coming.
When I was watching it again yesterday, can you put the picture up again just for a minute that you had of all the cast with the two monsters in it?
Yep, bear with me 1 second. Let's find that for you. Hold on, there it is.
Now, if you look at Oddbod Jr., I've thought of this quite a few times. Yes, he looks like Rodney Bewes. Don't you think? I know it's not, but you get that vibe? I don't know. Maybe just me.
No, not really. That's terrible.
Okay.
The voice of Oddbod Jr. was actually Gerald Thomas, the director. He had a monster voice. He used to read bedtime stories to his then young daughter too, and he used it to voice Oddbod Jr.
I did not know that either. Absolutely brilliant. Oh my, it's full of facts, this one, isn't it? That's why he's on the show. And Frank Spencer's joining us as well, saying, evening all, I love this film. And we have to mention, I was going to do this as well, but Mike Disney's beat us to it, their great theme song, credited to Anon, but it's sung by Ray Pilgrim.
Yeah, for many, many years, it was believed it was Jim Dale.
He's doing a bit of Cliff Richard homage a bit with it, isn't he?
But no, it surfaced. It must be about 10 years ago now. It was actually Ray Pilgrim, and it was sometimes miscredited to a guy called Boz Burrell, who did a cover version and released it as a single when the film was released. So that's obviously where the mix-up took place.
Yeah, see, they were marketing even back then. But it's a great film. I've got it in my head now, and we can't sing it because it's just so simple as well, and it's very of the time. It's very of that 60s swinging vibe. It's brilliant.
And I love the scream that comes in every time they say "screaming" in the tune. That's fantastic. Yeah, and the titles kind of tremble. As well. It's lovely. Yeah,
there's something in those bushes. Yeah. I'm going to be saying that all through this show. I've been saying that all day today, and people have been looking at me going, what? It's ridiculous. Mike is also saying to us, oh, look, Harry Corbett was superb in this. And Just Jordan's dad is letting us know this is her dad's favourite film. Oh, well, that's brilliant. I hope you're both well, Just Jordan and Just Jordan's dad. And I'm glad this is your favourite. I'm not sure about this, Frank. We need to Carry On Screaming Again, a sequel.
No, we don't.
No, I don't think
much as I absolutely love the Carry On films, I think the worst thing that could happen is to try and bring them back.
Yeah. We've got Rob Alexander joining us as well. And Harry H. Corbett says Stephen Braddock was superb as bung, 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 bung. Yeah, it has to be done. I wish you'd been in another Carry On. So do I, to be quite honest. I would have liked to have seen The Range.
It was considered at one time after Screaming when Sid James had to temporarily drop out of the series because of a heart attack, and they were thinking if he was no longer available, who could they recast? The number one name on the list was Harry H. Corbett. Yeah,
because he proved through this that he could carry the film.
Mm-hmm.
He works really well with Peter Butterworth as well, don't you think? It's a great double act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and Peter Butterworth is great at playing vacant and sort of the Stan Laurel kind of vein, which is really lovely, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk then these days about spin-offs, But these two, you know, they were ready made for this, weren't they? I mean, but the thing is, you get into this film, you start watching it, and you just don't realize that Sid's not there, Hattie's not there. You don't realize any of those are there. I mean, you do have Joan, the beautiful Joan Sims cropping up as well, but she's bedbound, isn't she, all the way through?
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately,
battle axe.
Yeah, unfortunately, Joan didn't particularly enjoy making this film. And she did have what could be described as best as a supporting part in it. Yeah. She's very much sidelined throughout the film. And she disliked the fact that she played an out-and-out harridan with no redeeming features.
Yeah. And there's also that very uncomfortable scene when they're about to, you know, put her in the in the batter. I mean, they do. It mustn't have been very nice saying, "Oh, look at all this, look at this," and you know, really getting a character, you know. But let's look at this as well. We've got to acknowledge these guys as usual: Peter Rogers, Gerald Thomas, Talbot Rothwell. Great job, gentlemen. I salute you for this one as well. Absolute classic. We've got the music by Eric, as usual. There, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And this piece of art, which is just hello. One yes, it is of its time, I guess, but I quite like it as well. I love all this sort of greeny purpley thing going on. It was a matter of time, wasn't it, everybody, before the Carry-Ons got round to doing the Hammer horrors, let's face it.
Excuse my name dropping, but I once was looking at that poster with Angela Douglas, and she looked at the image of herself and she sighed and went, "Oh, if only."
Let's have a look. Oh, yes, there we go. And Fenella came out of this poster very well as well, didn't she?
Yes, they're both quite pneumatic, aren't they?
Yeah, they have hourglass figures.
Hourglass. 5 hourglass.
Too much sand, perhaps.
Just brilliant. So, we had to credit those guys because, of course, absolute geniuses of bringing all this in, and it works so well. But yeah, I mean, what a cast we've got on this as well. I mean, I can understand why they were saying it's a new cast. It is in a sense, but as I say, you get into this and you don't actually. I'm no disrespect to them, but you run with this, don't you? You run with these the familiar faces you've got in there and the new ones that have come in, and they work so well. It's just so funny.
I think that's a lot of that credit must go to Talbot Rothwell for his script. I mean, the basic storyline follows a 1930s horror movie called Mystery of the Wax Museum. Which was then remade as a 3D horror movie in the 1950s called House of Wax with Vincent Price. And he's taken bits and pieces from all sorts of horror movies, iconography and all sorts of stuff, and just written a very, very funny script around it.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Absolutely.
I love the fact there's apart from that, there's also influences from the Addams Family as well.
Yeah.
There's lots
of
Breslau and Morticia is what Fenella's playing kind of thing as well. So there's lots of lovely homages, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, when this was released, the Addams Family was huge on British TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, 1966.
It started in 64, didn't it? I think 2 years before this. Yeah. So.
Stephen's reminding us of the words for the theme tune, Carry On Screaming, because when you're dreaming, I know you are screaming of me. The theme song reminded me of a Bond theme somehow, says Dalek Eye. Interesting. And Mr. Ford 4210, it is lovely to see you. You're frying tonight, chaps. Well done. We are frying tonight. And Michael telling me to, oh no, stop messing about here. Peter Harrington is saying here, I met Fenella years ago at the NEC. She spoke of this and working with Tony Hancock and Morecambe and Wise, and I was in heaven. I bet you were. I bet you were in heaven. That's wonderful.
There's lots of stories from various people that Harry H. Corbett wasn't an easy man to work with. But the one person who refutes that is Fenella Fielding, and says working on Carry On Screaming with him was an absolute joy.
Oh, bless her. Well, that's nice, though. I suppose it depends. I mean, it's like any sort of job, isn't it? You're not going to get on brilliantly with everybody you have to work with, I suppose. And, you know, and we all know what it's like in theatre as well, because everybody's got a different creative output. And believe you me, there's more clashes than getting on with in certain productions as well.
And everyone approaches things differently. That's the thing. You know?
Yeah. It's really difficult.
Yeah, another interesting thing about Harry H. Corbett in this film was an interview he did, sadly not that long before he died. He said he never enjoyed making films. He didn't enjoy the process of filmmaking. He didn't think you could get a performance flowing because it was always done out of sequence, stop, start, stop, start. And then he qualified that and said, the one film I really enjoyed making was Carry On Screaming.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? I like that. That's a nice series. Oh, I mean, yeah. Where to start with all this? Pete Harrington is also saying the toilet scene. Oh, there's so many scenes in this that are a joy. It is absolutely
He's
true,
drowned.
isn't it?
Yeah, superb. Yeah.
Yes.
And Nathan Adlering is here. Hello. Eeny, meeny, mini, moo. Peter is also saying she is gorgeous, Fenella. Swoon. Yeah, behave. And Blue Worm is saying to us, it certainly has the look and quality of a mid-60s Hammer horror movie. Now, yeah, let's start with that, actually, guys, because it does. I mean, you look at this, it's absolutely gorgeous.
And it was made for £179,000.
Money well spent. You can see it's all on screen.
Which,
it really is.
I checked this out. In today's money, it's a budget of 2.8 million.
Wow. And I mean, you guys will know this. So these sets, I've never really looked into this because I just love Carry On Screaming for what it is, and I love all that set and the scenery stuff. Are they the usual Carry On? Oh, let's nix it from somewhere, or are they fresh for this film?
The Carry-Ons had the benefit of all being made at Pinewood Studios, which God bless it, still has a massive stock of sets, props, costumes, all sorts of stuff. So they would basically just go and raid and mix and match and put stuff together and dress it to make it look unique. But you'll find that the flats, the set dressings, all sorts of stuff do crop up time and again in lots of other films. But the skill of the art director and the lighting and Alan Hume, the cameraman, to make it look so lush and so high-end is just phenomenal.
Yeah. It's just, the whole thing is beautiful, isn't it? It just looks so good. Fabulous.
And, I mean, the other thing is they look enormous as well.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that cellar. That cellar itself. Wow.
The cellar's interesting. When we reviewed Curse of Frankenstein, I remember we talked about Hammer couldn't steal from Universal. It looks a bit like the Carry On was stolen from Hammer a bit with the set. It's very, very reminiscent of Curse of Frankenstein a bit, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, all the sets are certainly in the style of, but there's no direct copies.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't it interesting, everybody? Really? I mean, because when you do watch this, I mean, you know, we've also got there, who was just telling us there, the chat is moving so fast. It's great to see you all. Julianne was saying to us there, I can't pick a favorite line or scene from this film because it's all so brilliant. I know it really is, isn't it? And it was just Jordan that said the music in this is fantastic as well and compliment. But it is that beautiful sort of spooky Hammer horror type music in this, isn't it? It's what you expect from what is effect another horror film. Even though it's
when Oddbods make appearances, I love their music that they had.
Talking the sets, one of the most impressive is the Hokum Woods, because that's an interior set. It's not location.
It's lovely. Yeah,
it is. It's a beautiful set, actually. It's what made me think. Hang on a minute. Those forest sets are so good. They must have used it in other stuff. There's no way they're going to bin all that because it was just beautiful. I mean, you can tell these days, of course, it's a set. But maybe back then on the films, on the cinema with the process they had, maybe people might have been misled by that and thought, But I just think it's absolutely wonderful. There's something in those bushes. I love that line. I'm sorry, I really do. Mark Milford is with us saying the Carry On films offered a light-hearted escape to a fantastical world that allowed audiences to laugh at the absurdity of life. And as we said before, in a very, very British way as well. Hi to Adrian James as well. But I mean, everything about it from that immediate start, the theme tune, then the scene, the fog, you know, or I love it. I absolutely love it. You mentioned the Oddbod and Junior there, didn't you? Stephen Braddock sent us his version of this.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Yeah. I can see an element, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I can see an element here of Christopher Lee.
Yeah. And there's definitely the Boris Karloff look with a kind of almost square head they've got as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that, Stephen. Really, thank you for your drawing. Appreciate that. And they were played by Tom Clegg, who played Oddbod, and Billy Cornelius, who played Oddbod Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here, in the memory of the original Frankenstein's monster, played by Boris Karloff in 1931 Hollywood classic, Oddbod Jr. has an engaging childlike charm. Now that's the sort of directorial note you don't get in Carry-Ons usually. In their characterization,
He's
there,
actually quite sweet in this. He's very sweet actually when you watch him back. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I love the way that Fenella's character, Valeria, is just so vampish.
Yeah.
And everybody's attracted to her. Well, all the fellows are attracted to her, and she knows it. And yet she goes for people like Oddbod.
And Socket as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, if only you weren't so devilishly attractive.
It's like, let me go, she's holding on, that kind of thing. Bit like that, you know.
Oh, that one, yeah. Well, I mean, let's mention Bernie Breslow here. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
This is just brilliant, this.
This is definitely Lutch, isn't it? It's definitely Lutch, but it's lovely.
Definitely Lutch. It really is. And I love the line where he just gets himself a little bit confused and he's still playing it. He's just, just deadpan, isn't he? And the character's getting it confused and say, the master has been dead for 15 years, but I'll just go and see if he can see you.
One odd thing, though, is he just disappears towards the end of the film.
True.
When the Oddbods are rampaging and Jim Dale turns into a werewolf, he's nowhere to be seen.
As you do. I wonder what happened there. I wonder if Bernard had just finished. God, they just forgot him. But I do love that scene with him and Fenella, where she's just like,
and his toes curl up like that.
Let me go. And he's just standing like that. Let me go. It's just
she's protesting too much. It's lovely. Yes, good. Yeah.
You fiend. What a character Fenella Fielding is playing in this one. Shall we talk about Fenella Fielding? Because what a characterization. She's just perfect, isn't she?
While you've got that image on the screen, see that sort of diamond shape and her dress on her midriff there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Originally, that was going to be bare. And she was going to show some fleshy bits. And the British Board of Film Censors saw some very early rushes of some of the first scenes shot with her. And they said, we cannot pass that as a family certificate film. It's too racy. So wardrobe, it's exactly the same dress as she wore, just sewed another piece of velvet into the diamond shape. And they quickly reshot the scenes.
Wow.
That had previously been done where she was showing a bit more flesh.
Her midriff, yes.
Yes. And you can clearly see there on that image her famous story of the ring that she's wearing.
Oh, the ring, yes.
Yes. That she asked if she could keep the ring at the end of production because she really liked it.
And they let her.
Yeah, but they deducted the cost of the ring from her fee.
Yes. It's a story she told a lot.
Candy businessmen, weren't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But she kept that ring for the rest of her life.
She did. Yeah. I wonder where it is now.
I think she's got an amazing voice, a very sexy voice, but she reminds me of, is it Joan Greenwood, who's in A Kind Hearts with Coronets? She's got a similar sounding voice, but very husky. Lovely voice.
I think part of it's put on a bit more here as well, because she's a bit. I mean, she made a name for herself, didn't she? The lovely Fenella, out of this sort of look and this sort of character. But in this one, she's very sort of. She's very breezy.
Well, ironically, I think it was about 3 years before Carry On Screaming, Fenella Fielding appeared in a little-known Hammer horror comedy called The Old Dark House, which she plays a very similar vampish character. But the film didn't get released for a long time, and it wasn't released until after Carry On Screaming had done the rounds. And when The Old Dark House finally did make it into cinemas, every critic was saying, oh, this is Fenella Fielding redoing her Carry On Screaming role.
Wow.
But she'd actually filmed it 2-3 years previously.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, God. I wonder what she thought of that. Just Jordan is saying we must explore Avery Avenue. That's hopefully what we're going to be doing in this show. So keep your comments coming, everybody, as well. Stephen is agreeing with that. We must explore Avery Avenue. Mark Greaves is quite rightly saying Peter Butterworth was pure comedy. Genius.
I see. He's hilarious in this. He really is. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing his drag.
Oh,
It's when he gets off the slab and he does his policeman's kind of crouch. That's brilliant. Yeah. And you hear him creaking as he does it. It's brilliant.
It's when there's Jim Dale with Angela Douglas, Harry H. Corbett with Peter Butterworth in drag in the hallway, and the Oddbods are menacing them, and Angela and Peter Butterworth swoon together.
It's just pure comic timing, that one, though, isn't it? It's just so good. But Peter Butterworth, as pictured here, absolutely brilliant. I love this bit. How about it?
Yes.
I actually think at this point he's quite enjoying this.
I think he is. Yeah.
Yes. Apparently, yes, he always used to like doing pantomime dames and all that sort of thing. So, it gave him the opportunity to go into comedy overdrive.
Really
and
did.
For me, I mean, he's in such good company here, but for me, he's the star of this film.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a great. I think they're all up there together. Because
for me, Kenneth steals this movie. That's one of his best for Kenneth Williams, I think.
Oh, for Kenneth, it's brilliant. But I think this is a film where they all actually seem to be working together.
Yeah.
But unlike all the other carry-ons, they don't interact with each other. Like Kenneth Williams and Joan Sims don't have a scene together.
Yeah.
No.
They don't meet as people. It's very much done in isolation rather than being a big ensemble piece like the carry-ons generally are.
Yeah. Dalek I is saying to us here, I also loved how they incorporated the Z-Cars theme and the Steptoe theme in certain places. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks like, if people remember, was it Camberwick Green? Dr. Mop had a car like that. If you remember Dr. Mop, he had a little car like that. That's what it reminded me of, if you remember him. Fantastic. Look it up, folks. Look it up. Yeah.
And what we got here from Nathan. Nathan is saying, William says it when he is using a syringe. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Yeah, you must remember it. It's my favorite bit. Please say it, JT, in your best, Kenneth. Oh, I'll have a go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. But that's the one where, poor old Joni. God love her. The glass pavement looked wonderful, said Mike Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. And that whole scene is bizarre, isn't it, really? And also wants to know, was the entrance to the gents an internal set too? It had the glass pavement section.
No,
the entrance wasn't, was it?
The entrance is up. It's the far side of the studio, the side entrance to Black Park.
Yeah.
It's the gatehouse of Black Park, and it's still there, and it looks very similar to this day.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's still there, to be quite honest. But the actual set of the gents itself, that was a set, and another cracking one because it's huge, huge. But Dan, so
Dan the lavatory man,
Dan the gardening man,
yes.
We'll talk about Charles Hawtrey, I think, in a minute, shall we? Robin Calvert, let's see what you're saying to us. Did Doctor Who inspire Carry On? All the early films from 58 to 63 were present day. From Clio 64, they often went to different time zones. No, I don't think so. I think the whole thing about Carry Ons was they never missed an opportunity. If something was massive,
to
like
send
Clio,
it up.
to send it up. And that's very much the British attitude, wasn't it, really? Bring it down.
And also, if it could be done within budget. I mean, for example, Peter Rogers always said he would never do a science fiction carry-on because he just couldn't do it on a carry-on budget.
Yes, I've read that in one of the books, but it was out the window completely. I don't think a carry-on out in space would have done, though, because it would have had to be in the prestige of Star Wars or Star Trek or Who.
Well, in the 60s, Talbot Rothwell did have a story outline for Carry On Spaceman.
Oh no, really?
But Peter Rogers wouldn't greenlight it because it just would have bust the carry-on budget to realise it.
Yeah. And well, that's fair enough, though, isn't it? Because he knew what he had to play with, and he knew how to produce it on the budget he had, which was about 20 pence. So he knew how to do it. Pete Harrington wants to know, were the street scenes taken from another film, sets, or a mixture?
They were all. Do you mean like the exterior of the milliner's shop and all that sort of thing? It
was a set, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were all sets on a soundstage at Pinewood, built from stock, and then dressed accordingly.
Yeah, and isn't
it's
that
lovely in that shop with the appearance of Frank Thornton. It's quite nice having him. A cameo.
Frank Thornton. Yeah. who was about to step in, of course, into Are You Being Served? So he become the nation's, what do they call him, floor walker? Or are we allowed to say that these days?
Are you free, Captain Peacock? I'm free, yes.
I always found this very interesting as well, Mike, that Valeria had a waiting room next to her bedroom.
That says it all, yeah.
Yeah, it really did, didn't it? Bill's wanting to know, and you've mentioned this a lot in the chat already, about, of course, this is famous for a Doctor appearance because John Pertwee is in the film. And Bill wants to know, was it John's third cameo? I mean, this was immediately after Cowboy, wasn't it? Where he's also in it with that.
It was his third consecutive carry on. He did Cleo, Cowboy, Screaming.
Yeah.
And during
a wonderful cameo.
He was brilliant in all three of them, but in this one, he's fantastic.
He's fantastic in this because he's so.
This is my favorite of him. Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
but do you not actually see certain elements of his Doctor? The way
he looks all at home with all the controls, doesn't he? When he's working with the controls, it looks superb.
It's the way his body's he's holding his body as well, and the hands. And hang on a minute,
he's got Peter Capaldi eyebrows as well. That's lovely. Yeah.
During the shooting of this, Peter Rogers and Jerry Thomas asked John Pertwee if he would be interested in becoming a carry-on regular.
Oh.
And it asked him to give it some thought. And unfortunately, John Pertwee overplayed his hand and came back and said, yes, I'd like to very much. And then asked for guaranteed work, guaranteed billing, guaranteed fee. And Peter and Jerry said, no, we don't work like that. Thanks, John.
Only the Pertwee. Well, none of us are surprised by this, are we, really? None of us at all. I do like that picture we just shown there. This is really good here. So many good lines in this as well, isn't there? From this, it's just absolute nonsense with all this scene here.
Homo gargantuoso.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
the wrong homo.
Yes. I mean, this is one of the things where you think, how did this get a PG certificate? He pulls a book off the shelf. It says,
on that time as well.
Yes. Fingers I have known.
Fingers I have known. And of course, things like, what's this here? It's here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's this here? What that there? Yeah.
It just makes me laugh. It really, really does. And there they are in one of the little pictures that used to be outside the theatre, the cinema. Absolutely fabulous. So yeah, I mean, John, it's nice to see John in this as well, isn't it? Because when you crop up, you're gonna, he's just there, isn't he?
I've seen this film many, many times, but his death cracks him up every time with those legs that are twisted above it, and Peter Butterworth looks at him and faints. That is superb. He's got very, very long legs. You may have noticed,
Oh, but the Pertwee doing what he does best. I think it was always better than when Pertwee came into something as a cameo because he had more of a boomf. That was his scene.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He made it his own. It was the same in one of our dinosaurs is missing. There he is in his cameo, tally ho, and all this, and it's his. That's his whole thing. I think he's much better, and he's still got paid. Let's face it.
He's got a great twitch in this as well. He's reacting to the finger growing. Is that?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for joining us for this. This is our review of Carry On, Screaming for our Wholloween season here. Peter, it's your mind. Because Peter is asking us, the finger is very phallic, or is it my mind? Yes, it's your mind. Paul is quoting us. Paul Rich is quoting something else, and I saw through him straight away. Oh, they're the great things as well. Like, I do wish he'd learned to use the door. It's just
there's a line that we're cracking up as well towards the end where the Jim Dale and Harriet Corbett are at the house, and Kenneth says, "Why you brought them here?" Well, how can we get rid of the bodies? The dustmen don't come till Friday.
Oh no, absolutely brilliant.
One that always gets me is when Jim Dale is being interrogated by Harry H. Corbett, and he says, "So you and Miss Mann went into the woods. How far did you go?" "Oh, not very far. I've only known her a year."
I love all that. I love all that. There's the old Britain, everybody, where we had manners and a bit of class. And yet he still knew about that. Anyway, we've got all that there. Well, Just Jordan is saying, I have a sneaking suspicion that Fenella may have been the reason my dad may have enjoyed this film so much.
He's got a very good taste.
It could possibly be. And Mark Milford, our resident poet laureate here, whose views Carry On, Hammer Horror, and Doctor Who are prime examples of how creativity, resourcefulness can build enduring legacies without massive budgets. Yeah.
And a great cat as well. Yeah.
Great cast, great talent all around, from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. But you're right, though, Mark. I'd agree with that, wouldn't you guys?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just great to see everybody here now. Yeah, I mean, this one, everybody loves this one. The foul feet smell, something horrible.
Yeah, I love the way you did it just then when Peter Butterworth does that, something horrible at the end is really nice and really well done. Very funny.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. More lines about this when we're talking about Peter Butterworth in drag.
Yes.
Stephen Braddock saying, I don't know what they're called, but they've split.
Yes.
And hello to William Orlock, 86, who's joining us. Hiya, William. How are you? Peter Butterworth is certainly very elegant in that lady's get-up. It strangely as well sort of suits them.
But that brilliant
it's
visual
like Lady
gag
Bracknell, don't you think?
Yes. Yes. That brilliant visual gag where they're in Hokenwood and Harry H. Corbett says to him, try and look all wanton. And then the expressions that Peter Butterworth pulls and the poses he comes out with are just fantastic.
You're like a bag of nutty slack.
Yeah.
I love this about his character, Slow Bottom. He gets these little things wrong all the time, doesn't he?
Yes.
You know, he's impregnant.
Yes.
It's when he asks which buttock is it on. There's a process of elimination.
Yes.
And when he doesn't notice the feet with 6 toes. Oh, he's just brilliant, and he plays it so wonderfully. It's like the character he plays in Don't Lose Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very similar characters. Yeah, because they're just so intent on doing the right thing and doing their job properly, and yet they're totally unsuited to it.
Well, the classic line in that one is, remember, you must be circumspect. I was, sir, when I was a baby.
Oh, Stephen's telling us about this one. There's a Scotsman walks across here some mornings and you wouldn't credit it. And it's just their face after that. I know. Let's talk about him. Charles Hawtrey, here he is, in a role that was well, come on, George, tell us about this. This was not originally planned, Dan, the lavatory man, was it?
Well, I think the most ironic thing about Charles Hawtrey in this film is this is his most remembered carry-on role. Yes. And yet it's a cameo appearance, and there's a reason for that. It's very well known. I'm not telling tales out of school here. That Charles Hawtrey's had alcohol addiction problems throughout his life.
Yeah, bless him.
Yeah.
Because of that, his behaviour during the making of Carry On Cowboy reached the point where Peter and Jerry said, "No more. We can't. It's having a detrimental effect on the schedule, the budget. We can't continue to use Charlie Hawtrey." So an actor who was in Carry On Cowboy, Sidney Bromley, who played Sam Houston the rancher, was going to take over the English eccentric role that always went to Charles Hawtrey, and he was cast as Dan the lavatory man in Carry On Screaming as part of the new Carry On team. Now, a very influential British critic picked up during the production of Carry On Screaming that Hawtrey hadn't been cast, and he wrote a piece about it and said, but if Charles Hawtrey isn't in it, it won't be worth watching. And this made Anglo Amalgamated, the distributors, very nervous, and turned around to Peter Rogers and Jerry Thomas and said, you have got to put Charles Hawtrey in it. So Sidney Bromley was paid off, and the cameo role of Dan the lavatory man went to Charles Hawtrey at the very last minute, and these sequences were shot at the very end of the shooting schedule. It was a very last minute thing that Charles Hawtrey was actually in the film.
And that was very fortuitous, wasn't it? Because he appeared in lots of films after that, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, he wouldn't have appeared in at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big wake-up call for Charlie Hawtrey, and he knew he had to behave to get the work. So it actually did Charlie Hawtrey some good.
Because I've read a few books as well, George, where it was implied in the books that Mr. Hawtrey was getting very starry.
prior to this, going right back to Carry On Cruising in 1962, which was the first one that Charles Hawtrey didn't appear in.
Because they had to
his
fall out then
demand-
as well, didn't they?
Yeah, his demand was not more money or anything like that. He wanted a star on his dressing room door. And Peter Rogers said, but no, it sets a precedent. I can't do that. If we give you a star, we have to give Kenneth Williams a star. We have to give Sid James a star. We have, blah, blah, blah. And Charles Hawtrey said, if I don't get a star on my dressing room door, I won't do the film. And Peter Rogers said, okay, you don't hold a gun to my head. You're not doing the film. And Lance Percival did the role that was earmarked for Charlie Hawtrey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not particular. We'll deal with that when we get to Cruising.
Is Lance Percival the chef who makes the cake of all the different
That's him,
countries?
yeah.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
That was originally going to be Charles Hawtrey.
Yeah.
My stomach's just turned again thinking of that. We will talk about that. Of course, when we get to
Spaghetti in the
Cruising.
cake, yeah.
Oh, blah, 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 blah. Thank you everybody for joining us. I want to say thank you to Dalek Eye there for your super chat. Very, very good of you as well, just to help Whose Views carry on streaming. Thank you so much. we are good to do that. Domgo is saying to us, thank you, Dalek Eye. I'd love to have seen Pertwee and Baker as regulars in Carry On. Well, that would have been a carry on in itself, really.
Just as a sidebar, what John Pertwee and Tom Baker together.
That's what I mean. Wow.
The Carry-Ons did have an influence on Tom's career, though he never actually did one. Because when Tom was at the National Theatre, he was Jim Dale's understudy.
Wow.
And Tom always says that Jim Dale is one of the nicest blokes you could ever meet. And Jim Dale used to phone the National Theatre and say, I'm stuck at Pinewood because it's overrunning tonight. I won't be able to do the performance. Tom will have to go on in my place.
Wow.
Now, the Carry-Ons finished at 4:30 or 5 o'clock at the very latest, no matter what. They never, ever once ran over. They were famous for it, and they still are. And Tom is absolutely convinced that was Jim Dale making sure that Tom got a break and played the leading role of a major production at the National Theatre. And Jim Dale deliberately stepped aside to give Tom that opportunity.
What a lovely thing to do.
That's really lovely. That's what you call a leading man, isn't it?
Yeah.
And giving others breaks as well. So good for Mr. Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. And that's a lovely story. I like that.
Yeah, and of course, many years later, Jim Dale was one of the finalists to be the Doctor when Tom got it.
Yes, true. Yeah. Yeah, but that's showbiz.
do you know what the production was that he was understudying for, George?
I could look it up. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was while it would have been in the late 60s while the Carry-Ons were in production and Jim Dale was doing them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, those Carry-Ons as well. I mean, Jim's character, they were always very physical. So that could have been just occasionally as well, him just being so tired. I can't be bothered going on. I mean, you wouldn't blame him, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Geordie Boy's joining us there. As you can see, Peter Butterworth was a favourite of mine in the Carry-Ons. His facial expressions were second to none.
Indeed, yes.
Totally agree. What a character. Mm-hmm. What a character. And love the Doctor Who reference, says Stephen Braddock. Now then, your name, please. Dr. What? Constable Slowbottom then says, Doctor Who? No, what? Who was my uncle? Or was? I haven't seen him in ages. And that goes on for a little bit, that whole thing. Doesn't it?
His name is what?
Yes. I always think that was a skit on the Abbott and Costello routine of who's on first.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's all the pennies just dropped for me after all these years.
There's actually a lot of influences of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in this as well, with some of the reactions that Peter Butterworth does as his characters. Very Abbott and Costello, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, they would have been so influenced by all that at that time as well, wouldn't they? Really, they would have been aware of all this work going on.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how genius they were to come up with these wonderful characters. Hello to Mark McIntosh, who's saying Doctor Who is, of course, Dr. Watt's uncle. Yeah, it's all canon now.
And he was still Hartnell at that point, just.
Just. And Paul Richards is telling us that Dr. Watt is plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We've gone through most of it. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This is great. Another classic line, Legion of James is telling us, do you mind if I smoke? Fenella cracks me up on this.
Which Fenella used as the title of her memoirs.
She did, didn't she? But that was just,
yes.
I mean, this whole scene here, I still just get, it just shows you how weak Detective Sergeant Bung, 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 is really, isn't it? And I was trying to give it up. The connotations are incredible there. You can make of that what you want. But what a great scene, and so well done. I mean, we know how it's done. It's very easy to get the dry ice behind Fenella there, and she activates it by sitting on it or pushing it or whatever it was. But it comes up, and it's just brilliant. It really is wonderful.
I remember Fenella saying in one interview there was actually an effects guy underneath the couch with the nozzle.
Right. Can you imagine if that piece of material had been in that scene? Can you imagine? Oh my goodness me!
I do remember in an interview, it might have been an audience with Kenneth Williams, talking about working on this film and about them knocking into each other. And she says, "Why is your bum so hard?" She was a very surreal woman.
Yes.
Odd,
Do you put it out at night?
I remember that too as well. And I've actually got the bit. It was this scene here where that happened, which is true. Carry On disguise scene here. Look at that. I mean, you can't tell that's him, can you?
Of course not. It's seamless.
It's absolutely. It's one of the best disguises going. But that's the scene. Why is your bum so glowy? Absolutely wonderful. This whole thing where they go, I mean, gem after gem, scene after scene. It's just, I mean, Carry On Screaming has to be. As I say, it was one of our. It was the most requested here for our series for Carry On reviews, and you can see why. This has to be surely the most popular Carry On film.
It's one of my favorites, but I saw this when I was little. I think I saw it around about the same time when we saw Doctor and the Daleks, Dark Invasion of Earth, because I think it must have come on the telly around about the same time, because I've got vague memories of them mixed together of seeing them. But I was petrified of this film. It scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Its first TV broadcast was in 1978.
Oh gosh, that is a long time after, actually.
Yeah,
it's 66, wasn't it? Why did it scare you so much, Paul?
It was the monsters, I think, that scared me. There was the two Oddbods got me particularly, and just the atmosphere. It's quite. It's got the music works really well in this, in the same way Hammer does as well. It really helps create the atmosphere and the suspense and the scares. And as a kid, I would have been 8 or 9 at the time, so it's it's quite a scary film, But it really did give me the chills. It's lovely, and we love all that kind of thing, don't we? But it was. But then I saw it later, and then as an adult, you see other levels of it as well. You know what I mean? And it's getting the different levels now. It's like watching 60s Batman. You see it as a kid, you see the excitement of the adventure, then you see the gags later on. Likewise with this, and I love all that. We see it again again and again. You see things you've missed, like watching it recently. Incredible.
At the time, though, the critics didn't like this one. They compared it very unfavorably to Carry On Cowboy, the film before it. Said it was nowhere near as funny as Carry On Cowboy. But not only was it the biggest grossing Carry On film up to that point, it was the biggest grossing film that the Carry On distributor, Anglo Amalgamated, ever had. It was an enormous box office success.
What do the critics know?
Yeah. And the reason why it didn't appear on TV until 1978, and it was 12 years old at that time, was because it was still very profitably being re-released in cinemas periodically.
Oh, really?
Right up until the mid-70s.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't do these sort of things now at this time of year, where it's coming into Halloween, especially in some of the independents or something like that. Because they show things like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff like that. They'll show Hocus Pocus, Bette Midler's film and all that. Occasionally, it's something. I never ever see them actually saying, "Oh, we're going to show Carry On Screaming again." I would happily go and pay to go into a cinema and watch Carry On Screaming on the big screen, because I've never seen it on the big screen. It's always been on the little ones.
They could put this with a double bill, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That would be superb, fantastic.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah.
It was a good few years back that I went to see a revival double bill of Carry On Cleo and Carry On Screaming at the Cornerhouse Cinema in Manchester, which is no longer there.
No, it's gone.
And it was a complete sellout. And this is despite the fact that it had been on TV multiple times. It was widely available on video at that point. In fact, even DVD, I think. But it was a complete sellout.
Well, there you
It
go.
makes such a difference. I've said it many times before. Seeing it with an audience makes a huge difference. It really does.
Oh, it really does, and especially when you're up for it as well. So here's a plea to all the what's left of the independent cinema chains. Why not have a Halloween night with Carry On Screaming?
It's not too late.
No, it's not. You could get that out there. You could do that. You could actually do that. Geordie Boy is saying to us, Oddbod, even the sound of those words is funny. I'm glad you've mentioned that, Geordie Boy, because I wanted to talk about something like that, because there are lots of funny words in this. Bung itself. Now, that's a good word. Bung.
Oddbod was a little gag at Odd Job in Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've also got things like, of course, Valeria. I think that's funny. Dan, we've already mentioned him. Slow Bottom. I mean, all the names are really, really funny in this. And it's just Joan Sims plays Emily Bung, and Angela Douglas, Doris Mann.
Yes,
that man Doris.
That man Doris. That Doris Mann.
Now, these are all great British phrases, really. Sadly, no, you don't hear them these days, really, do you?
In the original script, Fenella Fielding's character was actually called Virula, and it was changed to Valeria.
I wonder why.
And originally, she and Kenneth Williams were going to be father and daughter, but Kenneth Williams didn't want to play old. So
again, fair enough. Yeah,
he
played old and Carry On Cowboy, but didn't he?
Which
he
got a throat infection.
Yeah.
From having to position his jaw or something. It was very uncomfortable, and he ended up with a throat infection because of it.
I'm not surprised. It just hurt your throat. The voices, and he was doing voices all the time.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to play old again, so they amended it and they became brother and sister, and he played his own age.
And it works better, I think. It works so much better for that. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
He celebrated his 40th birthday on the set of Carry On Screaming, and there are some absolutely fantastic photographs of him being presented with this enormous birthday cake with the rest of the cast on one of the sets. The Oddbods in full costume and makeup all cutting the cake with him. They're just absolutely wonderful photos.
Well,
the monsters in this are great, but a shout out for Rubber Titi as well. I have to say.
Rubber Titi, we've got to talk about all that in a minute. Peter Harrington is saying to us, the reruns of Carry Ons in cinemas would be a good choice today. And on the back of that, we've also got Dalek Eye saying the Carry On movies are probably too non-PC for today's cinemas.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. And Russ Morgan also saying to us, the young people wouldn't understand the Carry On films. We'll more fool them. It's a shame, really, isn't it? That is really a shame. Stephen Braddock is saying, I'd love to see it on the big screen. I really would as well. And when this was first shown on television, says Mark McIntosh, the Oddbods absolutely terrified me. I was only 6.
It wasn't just me. There we go.
This is fun from the Forbidden Man as well, who says that Oddbod reminded me of Ringo Starr.
That's definitely Rodney views from me. I thought originally it was Percy Herbert that played Oddbod Senior, but it's the same actor who plays Sasage's in Cleo, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Mike Disney is there saying Robert Titi.
Yes.
Another great name. And look, he's changed pack, says Stephen Braddock. Pity, I preferred him like that. It's just all fantastic, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. Even the picture on the bedroom wall behind Joe made me laugh, says Georgie Boy. We've got to talk about Joe because she is, of course, one of my favorite actresses. And yes, you're saying that she didn't really enjoy this film. She wasn't there, but she still has an impact. I don't understand why they gave her this old battle axe, though, because look at her there. She's so young and, she's such a good character actor. She gets away with this and she's totally believable. Yeah. But I don't know why she didn't go with somebody older.
Yeah, she would have been about 36, 37 there.
Yeah. So I don't know. But as I say, she's so good. And it's a real... Yeah. She spends most of the film in the bed, doesn't she?
Yeah, all credit to Joan, the consummate professional that she was, that she hands in an absolutely flawless performance, even though she personally wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
You can't tell, can you? You can't tell.
I think the the couple of days she did actually enjoy was when Marianne Stone pops up in the film.
Oh yes.
Oh, when they go to
friend.
follow her husband, yeah.
And Joan and Marianne were big mates in their own lives. So I think she enjoyed being with Marianne for the couple of days that she was on set. But
and that's when Norman Mitchell's the taxi driver, isn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, Joan is on record saying that Screaming wasn't one of her favourites.
What a shame.
It's funny because she often got cast in this kind of battle acty type role, but in Carry On Cowboy, she played a great glamorous character as the owner of the
I think what must have made it worse for her was she absolutely loved doing Cowboy. It was her all-time favourite of the whole series.
And then
so
for
this to come directly after it. But normally when she was cast as a battle axe, there was something in there that made her a likable character somewhere along the line. But in this one, no, she's just a harridan.
It's a shame. It is a shame, but I'm glad she's there. I'm going to be selfish as a Joan Sims admirer. I'm going to say I'm glad she's there because for me the films were never the same if she wasn't in it.
The film certainly benefits from having her in the cast. There's no argument there.
No, not at all. Because she's just brilliant. She is
unfortunately
brilliant.
She is underutilized in it.
Yeah.
There's only one I wish she hadn't done, but we're never going to be looking at that one. We've got that one here as well. Richard Hushley saying she was about 36 this year, born in 1930. God love her. And the sound of the Poe under the bed.
When he kicks it, bangs it with his head. Yeah, right, yeah.
And when she says to him, now look what you've made me do. And that whole thing about the mother.
And when she falls off the wall.
I mean, she plays that brilliantly. But actually, the rapport between her and Harry H. Corbett is actually, I think it's really good. I think it's really balanced. And there must have been couples then and now that can relate to that whole thing. You're just with somebody at that point. It's like, 15 years. And in those days, of course, they didn't do anything about it. They just got on with it till they died, didn't they?
Yeah. So you can forgive Harry H's indiscretion. He wasn't happily married, was he?
Well, as he sort of proves at the end of the film.
Yeah. I love that bit at the end though when she winks, when she's frozen, she winks at the camera. That's lovely that she's still in there, which is
she's thawing out.
Yeah, she's coming back. She'll be back.
Steve Thompson is saying to us, I have a memory of rushing back inside on bonfire night to watch this in the 70s, around about 75, I think. Okay, that's a nice memory. Thank you for sharing that.
We're all misremembering the date then, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, the memory cheats, as a certain producer friend of mine used to say. And if Peggy Mount had a part in a Carry On film, Joan's part in this would have been perfect, says Dark Eye. Well, she was another actress that got that battle axe down to a T.
Have you seen Ladies Who Do? Is it Harry H. Corbett and that? And Peggy Mount, John Pertwee.
And John Pertwee,
yeah. So
I don't understand that. Domgo is saying to us here that Corbett played every role like Steptoe. It's not an unfair observation, is it?
Yeah.
No, in all fairness to Harry H. Corbett, he did break the mold. The film I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure he made before Steptoe came into his life. He played a very seedy, psychotic photographer called Cover Girl Killer.
Yes, I saw it on Talking Pictures TV quite recently. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I didn't realise it had been broadcast. Yeah, and that's a world away from Steptoe.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
I think he was so good in Steptoe. That's the problem. He really stole that. Him and Wilfred Bramble were great together, and it was such an iconic part. And sadly became typecast, but he was so good at it. That's the thing,
Well,
that's why they asked him to do it again and again and again, didn't they?
Because of the typecasting, he grew to hate it.
Yeah, well, that's true. I saw that lovely docudrama, as they call them now, where they were playing that, absolutely wonderful. And that came across in the writing and in the script, of course, and how they were playing that. The fact that the two of them didn't get on, and the two of them were stuck with each other for nearly 25 years or something, because they couldn't get any work anywhere else, and they had to go live with it as well. They toured with the thing.
Yeah, and did 2 films.
And they went to Australia with it as well.
The films, as you say, and what a shame. But this must have been a welcome break for him here. But as you're saying in the chat, I suppose there must have been a responsibility to his audience as well, thinking they must have expected something from him. I don't know. That's an actor's life.
But in the same way that Phil Silvers essentially plays Sergeant Bilko in Follow That Camel.
Yeah.
You know, his direction probably was, we
Play
want
you.
this to be very,
Just play that, yeah.
We are hiring you for your character.
Yeah.
It could have been here. Stephen Braddock's telling me, saying to us here, another great line. You haven't taken me out for ages. Don't exaggerate. We went out a couple of months ago. I had a lovely time. And then Emily turns around and says, "You call that lovely? My poor mother's funeral." Well, I enjoyed it. Terrible. Now, you wouldn't get away with that these days, would you?
No, but it's brilliant line.
It's very brilliant. It's just so funny. It's absolutely brilliant. We can't talk about any Carry On and ignore a particular person, can we? We have to talk about this one here. I love him in this. I mean, I love him in most things, to be quite honest, but in this one, he's not yet playing the over camp, what's am I going to say? The hammy type of stereotypical role that he started to produce. In this one, he's actually playing a role here. He's actually got the script.
He looks like he's really having a lot of fun playing this. He's enjoying something.
But another thing about this one is he's basically a supporting character in this one.
And he doesn't mind.
The two leads are definitely Harry H. Corbett and Fenella Fielding, and the rest are supporting cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's as I said, he turned 40 while the film was in production. But sadly, his father also died while the film was in production. So he had a lot going on in his own life.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't show on screen.
Well, no,
his relationship with his dad wasn't great, though, was it?
It wasn't brilliant, no.
And his father ended his own life as well. He drank a corrosive, some sort of corrosive liquid.
Yeah. No, it's all there. But I remember reading in his diaries about that. He was quite blasé about it all because he wasn't close to his father at all because of obvious reasons, and two different worlds there, two men from different times. We all know Mr. Williams had, bless him, issues as well because of the time he was living and who he was. But as you say, Joe, here he is in this role, and it's actually screaming he loves this. No pun intended. Well, actually, there was a pun intended there. But he actually. But it's interesting when he's saying this. He is a secondary character, but in this film, he doesn't mind, and I think it's because Sid isn't there.
Possibly.
Personally, I think it's because he's not trying to match. I think he's a bit more relaxed in this and enjoying the fact he's got, which is, it's a memorable character. Like he produces it. He's able to take the time to actually put something together and go, well, here's, I'm going to play this, and from that moment when he sits bolt upright and that wonderful line, what time is it? Just gone December. What? It's just, he's actually produced the character here, and it's not the same thing that's going to happen over and over again. It's not the snobbish, whatever. It's lovely. I just love the performance and that whole thing about the delight with Rubber Titi.
Yeah.
I mean, at this bit, for those who haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you've got to go and see it. I love this bit because here he is about to do something terrible to the leads, something horrible, and Rubber Titi comes to life, and he forgets about them instantly. Goes, "Ow!" Just brilliant. I mean, look at Fenella there. She's happy to see them all suffer, isn't she? Like, oh yeah, go on, do something terrible, do something really horrible to them. Go on. Brilliant.
One thing to quickly mention about watching this film is it's been released as a standalone Blu-ray in the UK, and it's been mastered from the original camera negatives that are held in the Pinewood Vault, and the Blu-ray copy is absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you watch the DVD copy or seen it on TV, and as we've all said, the sets look marvelous, the woods look marvelous. They go up another 4 or 5 levels on the Blu-ray release.
Really? I can't wait.
And if you can get a hold of the Blu-ray, is widely available, but it's just a standalone. It's not part of a set. If you can get a hold of a copy and watch it, do so. Because, I mean, I've known the film for decades, and when I first watched the Blu-ray, it was like watching the film for the first time.
Wow.
Oh, well, there's a recommendation. Going to have to get that. We've got a lot of love for Kenneth Williams here, for Mr. Williams. So thank you very much for that. Stephen Braddock saying this is Dr. Orlando Watt is his very best role in the Carry-Ons. That's huge. That's brilliant. That is. And William Orlock 86 is saying Mr. Williams is superb as he played plenty of comedic mad doctors on Round the Horn. It's very true, actually. Yeah, but even with that, they were a slightly bit more OTT than I think this performance is. You know, I think this is a more restrained characterization for me, and I think he's all the more better for it. You know, I don't know. It's just very odd, and I do think it's because maybe some of the pressure was off really on this. I don't know. It's just a theory. And I love this line that just Jordan's reminding us of. Oh, they would have to call tonight when I'm feeling half dead.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know that his character's actually dead, it's gone. There's that lovely line where he says something like that, and Fenella turns around to that point. She says, but Orlando, you are dead. What?
What a life!
Oh, absolutely brilliant! It's just, honestly, they don't make him like this anymore, folks. Sadly,
which is a real shame. Yeah,
it really is, isn't it? Michael is saying to us, JT, imagine Kenneth Williams. He would make a fantastic Doctor Who. No,
there goes the tumbleweed.
He was Graham Williams's first thought for the voice of K9 when K9 was going to be a one-off character for the Invisible Enemy.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
Well, you would have got that computer he played in Captain Zepp or whatever it was.
Galloping Galaxies.
Galloping Galaxies, yeah. You would have got that, wouldn't you? Here, no, stop here, knock it off. Here, no.
Or Evil Edna instead, yeah.
Mavis Crut. Oh, this is nice from Dalekai as well. A very sad life, but he brought so much joy and laughter to so many generations, and he's still doing it. This is what I love about all this as well. People finding these films, you know? Yeah.
I mean, much has been written and said about his own personal life, but just putting that to one side, the legacy he's left behind is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And not just the Carry-Ons.
Yeah. It's all of them as well, really, isn't it? When you see them collectively in the Carry-Ons and you're not aware of the backstage turbulence. I'm not going to say dramas because it was their personal lives. I'm going to say because it was his diaries that ruined all that for me in a sense when I read those diaries when they came out in the 90s and thought, because at that point I thought everybody got on.
Well, they did. One point, a couple of points to say about his diaries is his published diaries are incredibly heavily edited.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's about 10% of what he wrote,
probably for legal reasons,
actually made it into print.
Yeah.
To balance it up, there's another volume, I don't know if you're aware of it, called Kenneth Williams Letters.
The letters, yes. The red one, the red paperback,
Now, in the letters, he paints a much brighter picture of not only working on the Carry-Ons, but all the stuff that he did. Because if you read his diary, he hated absolutely everything that he did and everybody that he worked with. But if you read the letters, he says things like, I'm having so much fun on this film. It's so good to be back at Pinewood. I don't know where I'd be without Peter and Jerry. It's so good to be back with friends. And there's all this sort of stuff coming out. There's much more of a balance. I think the diaries, well, they were certainly edited to make sure there weren't any legal issues with some of the information that may have come out. But I think they were edited to make them as sensational as possible to sell copies.
Right.
The mind boggles what was cut out, though. I mean, that'd be very interesting reading.
Well, it does, doesn't it, really? Absolutely does, yeah.
Yes, because every single person I spoke to who was directly involved with the Carry-On film has told me without prompting that they've never had so much fun in their lives. They couldn't believe that they were getting paid. They just laughed. Angela Douglas, again, when I've had the pleasure of meeting her, said to me, she used to go home from the Carry-On set absolutely exhausted. Not because she was worked like a pit pony, because she just spent the whole day laughing.
Laugh. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. When I was watching the end of it, where Jim Dale transforms into the monster and he's fighting the Oddbods, I swore I could swear that Harry H. Corbett was corpsing a couple of times in shots.
So.
And he's really enjoying himself. He's really laughing at Jim Dale's performance, which is I love when you can see they're about to crack up. It's lovely,
Yeah. Angela Douglas said, if you look at the famous dinner scene in Carrying Up the Khyber,
Yes.
where the residence is being attacked, she doesn't get a close-up because she could not stop smiling and laughing, and they could not put the camera on her.
One of their famous scenes, isn't it? That one.
Yeah.
They love all that. But you can see some of her attempts to not laugh on camera. Actually, if you look for them, and now we know about it, you can look for them in the films as we're looking at them. We've got here from Julianne. Loved Kenneth Williams. We used to watch Will o' the Wisp in the sixth form common room. Well, yes, of course you did. The sixth form was watching Will o' the Wisp. I love that. And Paul Richards saying, my aunt met Kenneth Williams as she worked on a cruise ship. I think it was the Sun Princess. He was quiet, she said, but after a few drinks in the bar, he had everyone laughing out loud. Well, he did. He was. He always switched that on, didn't he? He always switched that character, what he expected the public to know about. If you haven't seen any, as Paul mentioned earlier, his audience with, you can get them on the Tube of Who. Look up an audience with Kenneth Williams. There's a couple of them there, but you do see him. Yes, he's performing, but he's performing to his, you know, his counterparts and colleagues. So it is him. Because he actually, some of the stuff he's delivering, he's not trying to be funny. They find it funny, but it's him telling stories. It's wonderful stuff.
He's a great raconteur, fantastic raconteur, really.
And there's a wonderful shot in that where he's recounting a story about Charlie Hawtrey on the set of a Carry On with his mum there. The camera cuts to the audience, and you can see Joan Sims clutching her sides, laughing.
Yeah.
So if she's having that reaction to it all those years down the line,
was that the handbag on fire?
Yes.
The handbag on fire.
Yeah. You can imagine what it must have been like actually there when it happened.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody. Yeah, Georgie boy, sadly, I think you are right. I think you are right there. These days, of course, you would have got help, but back then, no, there was no way you'd be able to talk to anybody about that. They would have locked him up here in the UK back then. And yet people like him were looked. Hair spun like gold. Oh, hair like spun gold, says Frank Spencer. Yep, absolutely. And lovely, lots of comments, lots of fantastic comments for Mr. Williams. Kenneth.
I think there's another, is that an omnibus or something that they did with Kenneth Williams? He goes back to his roots.
Oh, Comic Roots that was.
Comic Roots, that I recommend that. That's superb as well. Really interesting.
It's when you look at these films, you realise just how much talent we've lost, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's all just fantastic. We mentioned Angela Douglas. I also want to mention, of course, this Jim Dale. I mean, he was a regular, wasn't he? He really was. He was the younger one, of course, for the Carry-Ons, you know, because he must have been, early 30s when he did this?
Yeah.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts.
He had... Great, I love that. Well done, Paul.
Yes.
Here he is with the Angela Douglas dummy. Those dummies were brilliant.
I love that we did the knock on her bosom, and they try to do it when she's alive again, and he stops them. That's brilliant. Yeah.
But the dummies were great in this. I mean, look at this one.
Well,
do you think Robert Holmes stole from this? Do you think?
Both Angela and Joan were sent to the Pinewood plaster shop, where plaster casts were made of their bodies to make the dummies.
They did well, though, didn't they?
And they spent about an hour and a half encased in plaster while it's set.
Yeah, it's a good job.
It's hard enough doing your face, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they used to do it. It was all plastic casting those ways. Now it's all latex, similar process, but
straws up your nose, you know.
Yeah. But it's a good job they didn't put them in the vat afterwards, didn't they? Absolutely brilliant stuff there. I'm quite in tune with the whole horror thing. But Jim Dale himself, he always managed to play that innocent sort of young man very well. But and always the one but shy about the female form. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean that was the whole point of the Carry-Ons, that they were always about.
Except we weren't about. But the way he played that as well, because it was always quite good. Because no matter what character he had, he wasn't one of those young men that was a 60s man in that sense, i.e., right up there. You know, as seen in Camping or something like that. Some of those young guys. He was always the innocent, sort of shy, sort of one. And in this one, it comes across really, really well, doesn't it? It's just, like the line you mentioned earlier, George. How would I know? I've only been going out with her for a year or something like that.
Yes.
Did you get that down? No, like I said, I've only been out with her.
Yes.
It's just brilliant, and the expectation that they would get married. Yeah. So there's all that other thing as well, like when he's sharing the bed with Bung.
And the other line that always gets me is, "Oh, lovely, Doris, I did keep my gloves on."
Oh, bless. There's just so many in this. It's just absolutely fantastic. We've got here flesh and blood and that. Yeah. I mean, again, just delivered, isn't it, just Jordan? That's what I mean. He was so good at that. He was trying to say something that you can't possibly say. And you better stop thinking about it. Oh, blimey, Doris. Just so funny. I wonder how many fellas went to the pictures and went, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about, mate." As their hand went.
I love the fact that they're on the common and it's misty and they're up to no good, or he's up to no good. That's interesting.
I know, it's all that one of those lines that gets away. What the line that gets away from the whole story there is, how does he know about the little clearing?
Yeah.
Hello, what's going on there? How would you know about? I just don't know. Michael, you are quite right. Michael is telling us it's 2024 and Jim Dale is still alive. Yeah, he's over in America. He's been there for years, hasn't he? Making a very successful career.
He divides his time between New York and the UK. But sadly, from the main Carry On cast, he's the last man standing.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
he did a lot of work on Broadway, didn't he? After Carry On, didn't he?
Oh yeah, very much.
Oh, yeah.
He became one of the biggest Broadway stars ever.
Yeah, him and Michael Crawford.
Yeah.
And very similar physical actors when you think about it. No wonder they were both in demand, because they brought that fresh energy to Broadway. You know, fantastic stuff. Loads of comments again. Made in England. Yeah, we don't see those anymore. Those sort of stickers. When I was a little boy, Michael, those stickers were everywhere. Made in England, made in England, made in Britain, made in Britain. Don't see it anymore, do you? Don't even see it on
made in Taiwan.
Yeah, you don't even see it on your stainless steel cutlery anymore. Thank you, various governments we've had over the last few years. Oh, a little bit of politics. What have we got there? Oh, listen, this is fantastic. Really great. Yes, he's the only regular, says Richard. The only one still with us, I think. Forbidden Man is saying Hourglass, Purple Sand Orange. Their films were all about X and more X. Yeah.
But it still had it wasn't too dirty. It was all innuendo. As it gets later on, it gets a bit dirtier, doesn't it? Which is
there's that one, wasn't there? There was that one that we'll never talk about. Yeah. That was really just too much.
Or even before that, things like Carry On Dick and stuff like that got a little bit, kind of Carry On England as well got a bit.
Yeah, we will be looking at them. We will be looking at those at some point. Dalek I was saying Jim Dale was like a combination of Roycastle and Norman Wisdom to me. He was also a pop singer too for a while. He was, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why people thought he sang the song for the thing.
He had chart hits.
He did have chart hits, which says a lot about the 60s. I mean, Fraser Hines as well. Cheers, Fraser.
And Bernard Cribbins, yeah. So.
Right, said Fred.
Yes, let's not forget Roberta Turvey.
Roberta Turvey. All these classic hit tunes from the pop parade. Yes. These are great scenes as well. This is the one you were talking about, Paul, isn't it? Where they tried to he
tries to just test if she's a dummy or not. Yeah.
But there you get an actual look again at the set, which was incredibly, because this was actually another part of it where, obviously they're going to come off set here now as they walk towards camera. But this was the only part you actually see this element of it, isn't it? Where they come out of the room, and another built on it here. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that, everyone. And the lighting as well is very Hammer horror. It's very sort of, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. Talking about lighting and ambience, just stunning. Absolutely stunning, this. I mean, they got the whole foggy English night here. Lost in the forest. Oh, there's a house. I mean, yeah, genius is the lot of them. Absolutely beautiful, stunning, isn't it? What a film! What a film, everyone. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know what else. I mean, you just look at it and you just think, my goodness, fantastic. Pete Harrington saying to us, Ken Dodd had a big hit Ken Dodd had it big in the 60s song wise. I'll blame your phone for that one, Pete, shall I? Yes. I've got to read these out, everybody. Make them make sense, will you?
Well,
I've got fat fingers as well, do the exact same thing.
Didn't Ken Dodd knock the Beatles off the top of the charts at one time?
I don't know if it was once or twice, actually. But yes, he did. Also, Amare's reminding us about Windsor Davis, who also crops up in a Carry On film.
Yeah.
Had a pop song, Whispering Grass, and Lance Percival did a number of pop and calypso songs, including On That Was the Week That Was. Absolutely. Yeah.
Lest we forget I Am the Doctor. Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Maybe we should. Yeah. We shall explore Avery Avenue. I mean, that's just we said that before. It's such a good line. Paul Richards, I don't think I can read this one out from Paul, to be quite honest, but in the context of the show, it doesn't mean what it means. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the injection there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Really good.
I love when you do that, because doctors don't do that. When they do that, they test a syringe and it spits out, they do that before they inject it. They never do that in real life, but it's brilliant to do it in films all the time. Yeah.
Dom goes asking us, did Patrick Troughton ever appear in a Carry On?
No, he didn't.
He absolutely didn't.
Although the makeup that Jim Dale and Harry H. Corbett have look very like Clove from Scars of Dracula. You know what I mean?
Actually, yes, they do. Predating it, actually.
Yeah,
it's true. Absolutely true. I want to say as well, huge thank you to our friend Daryl Joyce, because as part of all his illustrations as well, of course he has done not just the Hammer horror film posters that we've talked about before, but he has done some for the Carry-Ons, and this is one of them.
Oh, that is lovely.
Lovely.
Really
Isn't that
nice.
superb? And look at them all there. I think it's even Robert T.T. is there. Look at that.
I'm so glad he put John Pertwee in there. I expected no less, obviously. But it's lovely, yeah.
But when you look at it, it's all the, the only person missing is Angela, really, and Joan. But, and Des Fenella taking quite rightfully pride of place there. But it is very sort of Hammer horror in the style that Daryl's done there. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So thank you, Daryl. Cheers for setting that up.
Well, the original release movie poster, which you had on screen earlier, JT, I mean, that is very much a horror movie poster.
Let's have a look.
That's done very much in the style of what you would have seen for the latest Hammer horror at your local ABC or Odeon back in the mid-60s.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a U, George, when it came out?
It was an A, which is the equivalent of a PG these days.
Right.
Oh, so the A's are PGs, right? Okay.
Yeah, the nearest equivalent is a PG, yeah. So there was, which meant that you could see it at any age, but all cinemas in the 60s and 70s operated a policy that if you went to a screening after it was either 5 or 6 o'clock, you had to be accompanied by an adult, regardless of whatever certificate the film was.
Oh, yes.
I remember that, yeah.
I do remember that vaguely as well, yeah. Oh, my gosh, you just brought that back to me. I'd forgotten all about that, yeah.
And for
you bring that back.
cinema anoraks like myself, going back to the Blu-ray release of Carry On Screaming, it actually starts with the original 1966 British Board of Film Censor certificate, saying that it had been passed for general exhibition as an A certificate film, and the name of the censor that had passed it and the date that it was passed, and it really puts it into the 1960s.
Yeah. Wow.
Before I watched the film yesterday again, I watched on the DVD the trailer that was on it, and the trailer's lovely as well. Really nice.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of them on the Tube of Who, but it's amazing now how many you and you suddenly realise that they're fan-made ones.
Well, this one wasn't. This one's a proper cinema.
The original cinema trailer.
Yes.
Which starts with, is it You'll Scream with Laughter?
That's the one. There's all these coloured busts.
Yes.
With the American narration on it.
Yeah. A laugh in every line, a screen in every scene.
It sounds a bit glossy, doesn't it? That way. But I mean, can you imagine having to go to see something? You would have been on a date or something like that or whatever. And then, that trailer comes on to say coming soon would have been Carry On Screen. Because what people don't realize, what we all forget today, is these films were massive. People actually went to the pictures to see this, to the cinema. Yeah. They went to see and they sat down with their ice cream. And, if they were on a date, they sat down with their date and the arm would go behind the seat there, and round the shoulder and down the front and into the licorice, all sorts. I mean, it was all very.
You're painting a lovely picture here, GT. It's interesting.
But as we said before, it was an absolutely enormous box office hit when it was first released.
Yeah.
I mean, there were all sorts of things like local newspapers were supplied with a picture strip version of the film, which they could put out every week to help promote the film, that you could get like the bare bones of the story in picture strip form. And stuff like that just helped generate queues around the block for every screening of it.
Amazing. So clever back then as well. But yeah, we are going to be coming, everybody, to the scores on Matron's clipboard very soon. So you can start putting it into the comments now what you're going to give Carry On Screaming out of 10 before I ask George and Paul what they're going to be giving it. So start putting that into the chat now. Thank you so much. I mean, this has been, I mean, it was I have to say that, I watched this on Monday night, everybody, ready for this review show, and then thought, oh, I'm going to have to watch that again because I wasn't paying attention. So I watched it immediately back to back. And then I got home from work yesterday and thought, I'm going to watch it again. And so I watched it 3 times over the last couple of nights just for the show. And I just, it really just brings it home how good this film is, how brilliant it is, how stylish it is, how good it looks, how classy it is, how everything about it works.
It's really engaging. It really draws you in. It really does. Yeah.
It really, really does. And it just does exactly what it's going to do. And I just love it. I'm just so grateful that we've got Carry On Screaming here. It's just superb. Let's have a look at this. If someone made, says Stephen Braddock, a series of action figures of Carry On Screaming, I'd buy them.
Oddbod Junior, please. That'd be lovely.
Well, funnily enough, back in 1966, there was a tie-in with a range of squidgy toys called Creepy Quivers, where they released an Oddbod Creepy Quiver that looked absolutely nothing like the Oddbod in the film. But it was in a Carry On Screaming box.
Was it?
Now, unfortunately, before they got released in bulk, the distribution warehouse burnt down and destroyed them all.
Oh.
So if you have a Oddbod Creepy Quiver in its Carry On Screaming box, you've got one of the rarest pieces of movie memorabilia there is.
Wow.
Do you remember Tudor Chris did Harum Scarum badges?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a couple of monsters in them. I think one of them looked like Oddbod with the ears and the flat head and everything. So it's a cross between the werewolf and the monster. And do you remember them? No?
Don't remember.
Harum Scarum from Tudor Chris that came in a bag. Yeah.
No, I don't remember those. I remember Tudor Chris. Whatever happened to them? Brought over, I suppose. And we've mentioned it already. I've got to mention it again as well. The immortal line and the immortal scene, frying tonight. Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. What a joy. I just love it. What a film. And on that note, let's go and see what your scores on Matron's clipboard are. They're coming in fast and furious here. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's out of 10, everybody. Great to see that Daryl's joined us and he's saying, yes, just arrived. I do have the poster available at A2 and A4. So you can get in touch with Daryl if you're interested in that one. What a great piece of merchandise for you to have there from Daryl. Right. We're going to start with George. Out of 10, what's your score on Matron's clipboard?
Okay. Much as I love this film, and I do love the bones of it, I don't think it's the best Carry On.
Right.
Either objectively or personally, I don't think it comes top of the pile, and that's because, as I said earlier, it doesn't play like a usual Carry On, that everybody doesn't interact with everybody. Even though, as we said, she puts in a great performance, Joan Sims, unfortunately, being sidelined is a little bit of a downer for me, a waste of her talent. Bernard Bresslaw just disappearing at the end of the film is a bit of a loose end, and an otherwise absolutely watertight, incredibly funny script. But do you know what? I would say to anybody, great way to spend an hour and a half of your life is watching Carry On Screaming. And then great way to spend another hour and a half of your life is to watch Carry On Screaming again.
Brilliant.
It's 9 out of 10. It just doesn't quite make it to a 10 out of 10 for me. So 9 out of 10.
Superb. Paul, what about you?
Well, I feel similarly to what George has said in terms of there are like Joan Sims and Charles Hawtrey as well, that they're not used as much as they should, and their interactions less. And the fact that Sid's not in it as well is a bit odd that he's not in it. But as you said earlier, GT, I can't see anyone else doing it apart from Harry H. Corbett.
Yes.
This film has massive nostalgia for me. So, this is probably my favourite ever Carry On movie because of the nostalgia mainly, but it is a very funny script, very funny dialogue, great lines in it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 just from purely nostalgia, really.
Fantastic. I hear what both of you are saying, and I totally agree with what you're both saying. For me, though, this has always been a favourite. That has been, I've watched it 3 times in the last couple of days, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But similar to George,
you're just checking if you liked it. That was it.
Yes. Similar to George, it's not actually my ultimate favorite. That one's still to come in our series of reviews here on Carry Ons. But I do love this. And I love the cast. I love everything that works together, but it's going to be a 9 for me. It's going to be a 9 just because it's not the cast, it's not the cast. And I think it's just for that for me. As much as ever, I love this one. So, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well. But it is brilliant. It's fantastic. And I can watch it happily anytime at all. And hopefully some of the terrestrial stations will be broadcasting it over this Halloween to celebrate,
It's a bit of a comfort watch for me as well. I find really watching it, it's a lovely fuzzy feeling you get when you watch it,
Yeah.
It could be my age, I don't know, but there we go.
The unfortunate thing about TV broadcasts of the Carry-Ons is they're normally cut to ribbons, though.
They totally are. We've discussed that before, haven't we? It won't be long until they're on for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so as said before, go and get the Blu-ray.
Go and get the Blu-ray. Let's have a look and see what you are voting for this on Scores on Matron's Doors. Scores on Matron's Clipboard. We've got here TARDIS Travels is giving it a 9. Domgo is giving it a well-deserved 9 out of 10 as well. We've got Frank giving it a 10 out of 10. Just Jordan is saying 10 out of 10, 100% for both Dad and myself. Well done, you two. Thank you very much. Forbidden Man is giving it a 9 out of 10. Amore is giving it 11 out of 10. That good. Fabulous. Frank Spencer is also giving it a 10. And Richard Hussey, 9. Still big marks here from everybody. Definitely a 9, says Pete Harrington. Thank you. Wonderful film. Aside a slight continuity error, says Mike Disney with 9 out of 10. Indisputable 10 out of 10, says Legion of James. John is actually saying it has to be a strong 8 out of 10. And Paul Richards is giving this a 10 out of 10. Screaming gets a 10 out of 10 from me. It's my favorite, which is wonderful. Thank you for that one. Michael Q is giving this, I give Carry On Screaming 10 out of 10. And Blue Worm is saying here, love Bernard Breslow as the heroic Cyclops Rel in one of my childhood favorite movies, Krull.
Yes.
He's also great as the giant Gort in the wonderful Campfest Hawk the Slayer.
Yes. And
a film I'm trying to forget.
Yeah, he's also very good in a Terry Gilliam film, Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky. Oh, I've forgotten about Jabberwocky as well.
An ex-girlfriend of mine used to be a dresser in theatre, and she worked with Bernard Breslow as a dresser when he was doing some kind of opera or something, I think it was. And she said he was a lovely, gentle, giant, lovely man.
He was in that. Yeah. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times many years back now. In my cinema manager days, a cinema I took over in South London when I first moved down to London. One night, I was just standing in the foyer, looked round and just went, that guy over there looks like Bernard Breslow. Did a double take and went, that guy over there is Bernard Breslow. And the staff said to me, oh, he lives local and he's a big cinema goer. He loves coming to see the movies. And I got to meet, and he was such a lovely man. Such a lovely man. And without doubt, a gentle giant. Such a lovely man.
That was the stories about him all over, wasn't it? But that's great. Lee Smith is saying to you, Paul, creepy quivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Dalek Eye, 10 out of 10, my absolutely favourite Carry On, despite not having many of the regulars. Mark McIntosh said a terrific 10. What else? We got Steve Thompson saying 10 out of 10. And yeah, Pete Harrington also saying, yeah, that sounds naughty, creepy quivers. Well, there we go. Stephen Braddock is saying, a blood-curdling, screaming comedy classic. I'm going to watch it again straight after this. 20 out of 10. Ooh, that's a huge mark. Thinking, nice to see you. Thank you for your message. A Scream-filled 10 out of 10. That's a carry-on title if ever I've read one, so Frank Spencer. Daryl is also saying to us here, 10 out of 10. Perfect era of the carry-ons and a spoof of Hammer that isn't taking the pay. Yeah, I mean, no one could have got offended by that.
No, it's very, very warm, I think, you know.
Yeah, it's only today that you can get offended by Carry On Screaming, for heaven's sake. And Julianne saying to us, 10 out of 10, my favorite Carry On and one of my favorite films. Carry On Creepy Quiver, says Frank Spencer. Easy 10, says Graham Dawson. And Bill Lowry is also saying an easy 10. Yes, very good. Blue Worm is adding here 9 out of 10 because he misses some of the other Carry On regulars. Yep, fair enough. Any more? Any more for any more? Oh, I'm not telling you at this moment. There's a couple. Garbage is with us as well, saying 10 out of 10. Fabulous. And have we got any more scores on Matron's clipboard? Ah, yes, we have. Kev, nice to see you, Kev. A well-deserved 9. What's Mark saying to us here? I will give it an 8, but I will give the Who's Views Reviews panel a 10. Your enthusiasm and joy was infectious to watch. Thank you. Oh, well, that's nice, isn't it, guys?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go back and watch it all again, Mark, can't you?
Excuse me.
Garbage is saying these scores are insane. It's almost 10 across the board. And quite right, too. 9s and 10s, huge scores there for everybody, isn't it? So
it's not doing bad if the lowest score gets is 8. That's really good. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And Stephen Braddock is saying to us, based on these wonderful scores, we're frying tonight. Just take me back every time. I don't even know which chippy it was, that guys, you know. But I remember the guy actually shouting that, going, "Frying tonight!" And he went through the menu, and everybody's going, "Ooh." It was just magical times, magical British times that will never ever come back. You know. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's sad. Robin is saying to us, Robin Calvert, Robin, this is probably my favorite carry-on and perfect for Halloween in November. That's why it's been part of our Wholloween season here on the channel. Up next, just to let you know, it's back to Doctor Who. And next week, we're going to be looking at the brain of Morbius. So get that plugged in right now and get watching that and join us next Wednesday as we look at the brain of Morbius. Because we're going back to that one. Robin, are you going to give this a mark out of 10 for us? You don't have to, but if you want to, get it in now. But I've really enjoyed that. Carry On Screaming. I hope you all have as well. Wow, what a film, guys!
It's a cracker, really.
It is a true classic movie.
It really is, and it's just wonderful, and it's so funny. Every line's a gem. All the deliveries are gem. I hope you've appreciated our love and fondness for this particular film tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to George and to Paul for joining me for this.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Carry
You're
on.
welcome. Yeah.
Make sure you have liked the video for us, please. And make sure you've subscribed. And make sure you keep watch on our show page here on the Tube of Food so that you know what's coming next in our Carry On reviews. Because there's more to come. We've got lots more. We're going to do them all apart from one, or maybe 2. We're not going to do 2. No, we won't do 2. But there's lots more for that to come. So stay tuned with us all, everybody. And have we got? I'm just going to check. There it is, Robin. Thank you, Robin. He's giving it a 10.
Good man.
Well
Good man.
done. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, guys, tonight's show has been a warm, nostalgia-filled delight. Your love for this film has been infectious, and the love has flowed through the screen. Well done, everyone. And well done to everybody in the chat as well.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Yeah.
And Pete is saying, hey, look, I hope the chippy's open. I'm half hungry now with all this frying tonight. What time is it, Pete? It might well be. You never know, kids. You'll have to get down there, Lar, won't you? And just have a look and see what you can get. But if you get the dregs this time of night. But listen, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back very soon here on Who's Views. And as I say, the next one in our Doctor Who reviews will be The Brain of Morbius. So hopefully we'll see you for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've already subscribed to the channel, make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. You know the score on what's happening there for whatever reason. And we will see you very soon. Thanks, George. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Who viewers. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.